Everybody know you press. Oh.
Test us.
Got 'em in.
Okay, I call this meeting to order at 10:03 on today, May 22nd. First thing is that we have 7 commissioners on this commission. Unfortunately, 2 had some health issues and could not make it in personally. So who we have personally is myself, Philip Cushman, and we have Commissioner Chris Gibbs online. We should have Kathy Gallowitz, Gene Crago, Chuck Byers, and that's all of who I know of at this time. Lupita, do we have a quorum?
No, not at this time.
What'd she say?
She's got to let these people on first.
Okay. We haven't connected with them? Okay. All right, we're going to take a pause until we make sure that we have a quorum.
Anybody want to lead a song? No? Chickens? Yeah, you can do those things. Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
that's okay.
we could probably do guest introductions too. Okay, we're going to go ahead and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Where's the flag?
Right behind you.
Okay. Who would like to lead us?
I will.
Okay.
Jim McCormick, State Commander, VFW, Arizona. I would be honored to lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good idea.
Okay, lead, please.
Will you all rise and face the flag of the United States of America? I have one on my wall right behind me. And I'll start off and present arms. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the
of
United
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Recover. The pledge has been successfully executed.
All right, thank you very much, Commander McCormick.
Thank you for the honor.
Okay, while we're waiting to get quorum,
They're here.
okay, so we have a quorum so we can proceed. We're going to go ahead and do guest introductions. First, I want to thank the Mojave County Board of Supervisors for their hospitality today. I know a couple weeks ago you had the Arizona Game and Fish Commission. We're a very different commission. We're an advisory commission, so we're probably not as complicated. But we want to thank you for allowing us today. So let's start over here on this end and just everybody introduce themselves for the folks out in the audience.
So I'm Supervisor Rich Letman, representing Mojave County District 2, which is in Bullhead City.
I'm Don Martin, and I'm representing District 4 for Mojave County Board of Supervisors.
Mitch Kalali. I work in Lake Havasu City in the court there, and we have a veterans court that I work with.
Cameron Farr. I'm the administrator for the Arizona State Veterans Home in Flagstaff.
Gary Ochoa. I'm the Deputy Director for the Arizona Department of Veteran Services.
Reagan Steller. I'm the Northern Region Manager for Arizona Department of Veteran Services.
And I'm Philip Cushman. I chair the Veteran Services Advisory Commission.
Chris Gibbs, Commissioner.
Lee Fernwalt, Military Community Liaison with the Arizona Department of Education.
Okay, and I'd like to have the folks online to introduce themselves too, starting with the commissioners online, and then the others.
Hello, my name is Kathy Gallowitz. I live in Maricopa County. I'm a career Air Force veteran and a commissioner.
Good morning. I'm Chuck Byers, Commissioner and a strong veterans advocate out here.
Okay, go ahead, Commander.
Thank you. Jim McCormick, State Commander of VFW of Arizona. I am originally from Sierra Vista, Cochise County, but I am the State Commander from here.
Okay, also note there's a lot of commanders come out of Sierra Vista for some reason. It's a pretty distinguished post.
Thank you very much. Post 9972.
Okay, who else is online?
Hey, good morning. Marcus Trombetta from the State Department of Economic Security, Office of Military and Veteran Family Affairs.
Okay, thank you.
Joshua Rubin, also connected on.
Okay, thank you. Joshua is also in line to be one of our commissioners as soon as his paperwork gets approved by the Office of Boards and Commissions. Is there anybody else online?
Gina Simon, Arizona Department of Veteran Services.
Okay, thank you. So the first thing on our agenda is remarks from the Mojave County Board of Supervisors. Gentlemen, please.
Thank you. I'll go first. I'm seated next to my colleague, Don Martin. I refer to the two of us as the crusty old buzzards up on the board. We're almost 150 years old between the two of us. We're actually born about 2 months apart, as I recall. So anyway, I am not a veteran, by the way, but I am the son of a Marine who served in the Pacific Theater and actually was wounded twice, once at Tarawa and once at Iwo Jima, before he was sent back to Ogden, Utah. So we definitely understand the world of veterans and veterans family. Also, my district, which is over in Bullhead City, it's part of the Colorado River Valley, and we have an extremely high concentration of veterans over there. Both sides of the river, Nevada, California, and Arizona, so from about Laughlin, Bullhead down to Topak, we think we have around 17,000 veterans and dependents in that valley out of about 112,000 people. That's a pretty high ratio per capita. So we're really locked into working with veterans. Anyway, it's an honor to be here with all of you. Thank you for coming up to Mojave County for your commission meeting. I think these kind of conferences and meetings, commission meetings, they're a real testament to the dedication and service and really this unwavering commitment, as I refer to it, to all of those who have worn the uniform. Okay, and I think that's really important. Our state and our county in particular, we think we have a really proud legacy of honoring our veterans and ensuring that they receive the resources, care, and respect that they want and deserve. And I know this commission shares those values, obviously. So anyway, whether you're a veteran or a family member or an advocate, your presence matters, and thank you for your dedication. Thank you for coming up to Kingman and Mojave County. We appreciate it. And most importantly, to all the veterans and their families, thank you for your service. And I'm going to have to leave after this. I've got to go take care of some rowdy Rotarians down in Bullhead City.
Okay, thank you.
Well, my name's Don Martin, and I am a veteran. I served from, I actually enlisted. My background, I was in college, had a college deferment, and did not have to go. My draft number was way up there. I would have never had to go, but I felt so much that my family had been all veterans in all services. And I actually left college and went down and enlisted in the Army, served from 69 to 72, was proud of my service, and has always been a veterans advocate. And being a veteran myself, I understand what we went through. And I really believe in what we're doing for veterans. I think veterans got a bad deal, especially those that were in Vietnam, got a bad deal. And it's been my journey to support every veterans organization I can and their mission, because, you know, we're all getting up there in age, and there's a lot of us don't make it from day to day. But I'm so proud of my service, and I want to do everything I can in the time that I have to make sure that the veterans get the respect that they deserve, because a lot of us didn't ask to go, but they went. I volunteered to go. I was proud of it, and I'm proud of the people, the men and women that are serving today, and that we need to continue to take care of our veterans and honor their service to our country. And on a personal note, welcome up here. As Rich said, we have tons of veterans up here, and I hear from them all the time, and they're my brothers and sisters, and I'm sworn to help them in any way I can, and I'm glad to see this group here working for the veterans. And thank you very much for what you're doing for us. Thank you.
When I say combat zone, airspace, territorial waters, boots on the ground in the battlefield, that kind of stuff. So the using is thinking you territorial water.
Somebody has their mic on.
Air level, anything about that. And,
Okay, we're going to go to our next speaker, the VFW Department Commander, Commander Jim McCormick. Do you have any remarks, sir? Hang on, Commander. You're muted right now.
Thank you. I got it now. Thank you very much for having me at this meeting. I just want to point out, for numbers purposes, that VFW of Arizona consists of 10 districts. 2 of those districts are in the northwestern area of Arizona, and for a total of 2,473 members of our organization, the Veterans of Foreign Wars. By all means, that's not inclusive. There are many veterans out there who are just not members, or are members of other types of veterans or other veterans organizations, such as the American Legion. But the veteran, there's a heavy veteran population out in this part of the state. And while we're looking mightily to get them to join us, right? It doesn't matter if you're a member or not. If you need assistance, we are there to help you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Commander. Our next speaker is going to be the Honorable Judge Mitchell Kaluli from Lake Havasu City Municipal Court. Your Honor, you're up.
Well, thank you, Chairman Cushman and Commission. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you folks today. As is normally my policy when I present, I want to start with a warm aloha. Aloha. Somebody's been to Hawaii before. And you know that aloha means hello, goodbye, and I love you. So if I ever look like I'm confused, it's because I don't know if I'm coming or going or in love. But aloha has a deeper meaning that I apply to how I feel about veterans courts and the effort that I put into that. Aloha can be divided up into 3 words: alo, to share, oha, with joy, and ha, the breath of life. And so when I share with you my aloha, what I'm sharing with you is with joy, my breath of life. And that makes us family. And as we know from Lilo's in Stitch, that means nobody gets left behind or forgotten. And that's how I approach Veterans Court. And I think that that's served us well over the years. We've had a Veterans Court in Lake Havasu for 11, going on 12 years. We were the third Veterans Court in Arizona, the first rural Veterans Court in Arizona, and one of the very first rural courts in the nation. Just really quickly, when Kathy had asked me to speak, she said, "Hey, Judge, I need you to come speak today." And when we were talking about who we could get to speak, the commission said we want somebody that's tall, dark, and handsome. And she said, "And you're tall and dark, and 2 out of 3 ain't bad." And so I appreciate the opportunity to speak here, and want to tell you a little brief history of how the court got started. So the mayor at the time, Mark Nexon, was watching TV on a Sunday night, and he saw a report on a veterans court in Houston, and thought, "Wow, that's really neat. I wonder if we could do that in Lake Havasu." And so a couple weeks later, he tracked me down, and he says, "Hey, Judge, I was watching this show, and I saw a report on veterans courts." He said, "What do you think about a veterans court in Lake Havasu City?" And what I heard was, "Hey, Judge, if you want to keep your job, you better get a veterans court going in Lake Havasu City." So with that as the impetus, we started planning, and this goes to how typically veterans courts get started. We planned and 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 thought, well, if we just get this part, if we just get this piece, and we finally realized that we just needed to start. And if you talk to a lot of the judges and areas that have veterans courts, at some point we just need to start. When we started, for example, we didn't have a mentor program. Well, mentor programs are crucial to the success of a veterans court, but we weren't able to start with one. It took us a little while, and we have a great mentor coordinator now. Joan is amazing. She's fantastic and coordinates all our mentors now, but it took us a while to get there. And I think with a lot of courts and a lot of veterans courts, you add pieces as you come along. And it's not something where you can say, okay, I checked all the boxes and now I get started, because some programs aren't going to have the resources necessarily initially that they need. And so I think as you look at where courts are starting or where courts want to start, the goal is, what can we do to get it started, and then things will happen as they go along. And I think that's important to understand, that we're not going to look perfect every time. But I will tell you that one of the things that we did right at the very beginning is we reached out to a group, I think it was about 4 or 5 veterans organizations in Lake Havasu City. And they had already kind of been meeting, and of course, if they're meeting and I can take over their meeting and their program, I'm going to do that. And so what I said was, I approached them. I think it was Military Moms, the VFW, Marine Corps League, DAV, I think was there, and there was a couple of others. And I said, if I will feed you lunch once a month, will you come to a meeting with us where we talk about veterans issues and talk about this veterans court? I said, I think it's a good idea. I think this is a really good idea. And if you'll come and meet with us monthly at the court, we'll feed you for free, and we'll have discussions about what's going on. Well, we started with 5 organizations, and fast forward to today, there are over 60 organizations that are involved in our what we call the Veterans Resource Team. And we meet monthly, and even if you're not there in person, you get an email about what's happening in Lake Havasu and in the veteran world. And I think it's been really good to focus veteran organizations' energies and to let everybody know what's going on. One of the things that they do in the Veterans Resource Team is that we have the opportunity to help those veterans that are in need before they come into the legal system. So I always tell people that the court system is the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. By the time you get into the court system, you've already fallen off the cliff, and we're doing the best we can to patch you up and get you to a hospital. But what we really need is to push all of those services up onto the top of the cliff and back from the cliff, so that they never fall over. And so the goal of the Veterans Resource Team is to do that. If a veteran in Lake Havasu City is in need, most everybody knows that we contact the Veterans Resource Team, and then from the Veterans Resource Team they get vetted so that the monies that are being used are used properly, and so that they can't shop, because sometimes the people like to shop around, and I'll go to this organization and that organization and get as much as I can. So there's coordination. But what ends up happening then is that we are able to provide services. Say somebody's electricity is going to get cut off, or somebody needs help with their rent, or somebody passed away and there's not money for the funeral. All of those kind of things can come to that Veterans Resource Team, and I will tell you that anybody that comes to the Veterans Resource Team, typically there's rarely a time when it takes more than 24 hours to fill that need. It usually happens within an hour or two. And that's really amazing. The level of coordination that happens. I think last year in total, including donations of goods and things like that, the Veterans Resource Team helped to the tune of $80,000. That's what we did in our Veterans Resource Team. One of the other things that the Veterans Resource Team did initially is we didn't have a grant to fund our Veterans Court. So those veterans that weren't eligible for VA services, or those veterans that needed to be UA testing, we didn't have the funds for that. So we went to the Veterans Resource Team, and for the first 4 years of our existence, the Veterans Resource Team funded the testing, the drug testing, and it ended up being somewhere around $30,000 to $40,000 a year that they were funding that. But that's what happens in rural communities, right? We get things done. It doesn't look like anybody else. It doesn't look like anywhere else. But we come together and we get things done. And I think a key, especially in rural communities, but all over, a key is getting the community involved. If we can get the community involved, if we can make the program their program, not just a program that the court does or not just something that the court does, but that the program is a community program, then we can really get the support that we need, and then that program kind of takes on a life of its own, and it's no longer just the court's program. It's it's the Lake Havasu City Veterans Treatment Court, and city members are involved in it. I can tell you that I spend a lot of my time talking with organizations and going wherever anybody will listen to me, because that's important, and we need to keep that going and need to make sure that everybody knows that we're there and that this is a good thing. And it has been a good thing. One of the things that you look at in court is how often do they come back? It's called recidivism. What is the recidivism rate? Once a person is done with whatever charge brought them in, how often do they come back? In regular court, it's 80 to 95%. That means that once we get a hold of you, we're pretty good at keeping you here, even if that's not necessarily what we're supposed to be doing. That's what happens. Once you get involved in the legal system, typically you stay there. And that's not necessarily a good thing. And in regular drug courts, the recidivism rate drops to between 50 and 75%. So that's a lot better, that you're still getting these people that come back, but not as often. Well, in most veterans courts, the recidivism rate is anywhere between 0 and 25%. And our recidivism rate, with right around 300 graduates over the 12 years that we've been in existence, our recidivism rate is less than 8%. And that's amazing. I mean, that flips the whole recidivism rate on its head. Instead of 5% that don't come back, it's 95% that don't come back. And that's huge, because then you're talking about, and especially in rural communities, these are the people that we live with, right? I coach their kids in sports. I shop with them at the stores. I see them all the time. And so especially in rural communities, we have a real need to make sure that our veterans are healthy. Because when you have a healthy veteran, you have a veteran that is willing to do whatever they need to do for the community, because that's who veterans are. That's what we do. So we want to have healthy veterans. And so we've been able to do that in our Veterans Treatment Court. That's one of the things that we've been able to do. But our Veterans Resource Team is key in that, getting the community behind that, because there will always be holes in services. There are always things that need to happen. In rural communities, transportation is a huge issue. So we're working with an organization in Lake Havasu that has donated a van, and they donated the drivers, and they donated the money for gas for the van. And if the court orders a veteran in the program to do something, then that van will take them there. And you know, those are the kinds of things that happen. I know in Kingman, they have bus passes that they utilize. You know, and different areas, transportation is a huge issue, housing is a huge issue, and to come together as a community. I think that that's really key. That's what makes the difference. If you're going to have a program that's going to last, especially in rural communities, it's because you get the community behind it. And for judges, that's a little bit difficult, right? Judges, sometimes we think that we're kings and we'll wave our wand and then everything will happen. And the truth of the matter is that if we're not willing to get out in the community and let people know what we're doing and say, hey, we really need your help, it's probably not going to happen. And for judges, that's kind of sometimes a hard thing to do, and it takes a while to make that happen. But I think a key is just making sure that the community is involved, and having some kind of a resource team and a resource team meeting is really key across the board to the success of the program. I will say that one of the things that I think, if this commission were looking at some of the ways that they could advise people who are listening and people who might be able to make some changes, there's a couple of things that could and hopefully will happen. And I had heard rumors that maybe sometime either this year or next year it may happen. One is identifying veterans when they come into the legal system. We've been doing it in our court for years. It doesn't cost any money to ask somebody, have you ever served in the military, right? And then just tracking that, making sure that we have that information. When we started our Veterans Court program, I swore to our city council that we would never have more than 5 or 10 at any given time. I knew that was all. There's not a lot of veterans in Havasu, and they're not getting in trouble. And I was correct for about 2 months. And then at its height, just before COVID, we had about 80 on our calendar in Lake Havasu, 80 veterans that were involved in the program. Right now, I think we're right around 30, between 30 and 40. And it looks like that's probably going to be where we are for a while anyway. But we wouldn't have known that if we hadn't asked the question. And, if you're a veteran, you understand this. If I ask you if you're a veteran and you served, for example, in the National Guard, you're going to say no. Or if you didn't serve in combat, you might say no. So we ask, have you ever served in the military? And that's a completely different question. And makes a huge difference, because we really want to know who actually served in the military. And that's important. And I had heard that there might be a bill going through that will, if needed, provide funding, but also require courts to find out who's in the military. And I think that will be huge, especially as we move away from federal funding into state funding. And I can see that that's happening already, and that a lot of the funding that's going to come through to courts and to organizations is going to come through the state. And as we make that move there, those types of statistics are very important. And so I think if as the commission talks with the governor and the other people that they talk with, understanding how important it is that we keep the statistics of not only just who's a veteran, but how successful are veterans courts and why. That's going to be key. And when we're asking for money, we're not just saying, well, we want money because we're veterans. That's true. We do want that. But we also want money because what we're doing is effective. Even more importantly, what we're doing works. And that's really the key. And you can tell people that, but you don't know it unless you see the numbers, unless there's data there, unless there's studies that are happening. You're not going to see that it's actually happening. I have great stories. I know I only have 15 minutes, but I have stories that could keep us here for days. And every single one of them is an amazing story. But sooner or later, the stories, the numbers behind the stories make a difference. If I'm asking somebody for donations or for money, if I'm asking the legislature for money for veterans courts, I need to be able to show that what I'm doing is effective, and that money that comes is what needs to be coming. And I think that's where there's not a lot of information in veterans courts right now. There's not a lot of people that are keeping statistics, and those statistics aren't being studied. And I think that's where we need to head, and that's where I think we are headed, but it's going to take a little bit of a push to get us there, so that we're doing that as a whole, and that as part of a veterans court, yes, it's great, and we love our veterans, and we need to do this for our veterans, but also it's effective, and here's the proof that it's effective. When we started this program, I told people, man, I think this is a great idea. I can't wait a few years down the road to see if it's a good idea, right? And now I tell people this is an amazing idea and it works. And here's the data. Here's let me show you how this works. And I think that that's really key. And to understand that and to do that. So to just kind of to close up, I want to tell you a story, which for me, tells me why the whole program is worth it. And this is one of many, but it kind of encapsulates how powerful veterans courts are. We had a veteran, this is probably 6 years ago now, a Marine veteran, came into the program on a DUI charge, and he had, as an attorney, one of the attorneys in Lake Havasu that was well known for zealously advocating for his client, meaning he would do anything to get him off. He would do anything to get those charges dismissed. And so he comes into the program, and we kind of understand this because we had worked with him before, with the attorney before, and so we knew there might be a little bit of a battle there. As part of what we do when we bring our veteran into the program, we do a lot of assessments, including a medical assessment. Well, prior to coming into the program, he had been assessed for, I think, depression and maybe a bipolar disorder or something. And as he came in and got the new assessment, they found out that as part of one of his deployments, and I think he had 6 or 7 deployments, as part of one of his deployments, he had been hit, his Humvee had been hit by a roadside bomb and flipped. And so he had a TBI, a traumatic brain injury, that had been misdiagnosed previously. And if you know anything about TBIs and depression, you treat them completely differently. And so if you're treating a TBI with medication for depression, it's not going to work. And so first of all, we got him on the proper treatment and proper medication. But as we realized that this was a TBI and not something else, the prosecutor and I, and so as part of this, we have a staffing team that sits and talks about the veterans and what we can do to provide services for those veterans. So we have the prosecutor, the defense attorney, the court, treatment providers, all of those people sit around, and that's where the real magic happens. And the prosecutor and I, and this is probably 5 months into the program, we're sitting around this table talking about how maybe the charge should be dismissed because it might not have been a DUI. He might have been having a medical emergency, and that's why it happened the way that it did. And as we're having this discussion, his attorney, again, remember the zealous advocate, says, hold on just a minute. Now, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but I don't want you to talk about dismissal right now. He said, if you could see where my client started and where he is right now, I don't want him out of the program until he finishes the program. So if you want to have that discussion at the end of the program, fantastic. Let's have that discussion. But right now, this is the right place for him to be. And so fast forward a year and a half later, when he started the program, his wife was pregnant and he was getting a divorce. When he ended the program, his wife was pregnant with their second child, and they were not getting a divorce. We get to the graduation, and most veterans courts, when they have graduation, they let the veteran speak. And I can tell you there wasn't a dry eye in the room when this veteran spoke and talked about his story. And he said, I get myself now. I didn't understand what was happening to me when I started to spiral, and now I understand. And that it made everything completely different. And he's a great member of the community, who, is always volunteering for everything that he can, just doing fantastic. His family's doing really well. But as part of the program, sometimes we send people to the VA clinic to the domiciliary. It's an inpatient program. It can be 30 days, can be 90 days, can even be longer than that. And we have a really good relationship with them. And every once in a while, we'll go and visit our veterans that are in the DOM just to let them know that we're thinking about them. And so about a year after he graduated, we had a veteran in the DOM, and we decided we were going to go visit him. And so we go in, and we're walking down the hallway in the DOM, and as I'm walking by one of the rooms, I see this veteran's name on the doorway. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I wonder why he's here. And so I asked the person in charge, I said, hey, is there any chance that we could go and talk with this veteran? And they said, yeah, absolutely. We'll contact him and get him in a room with you, and you folks can have a discussion with him. So we go into this room and we sit down, and he comes in and he say, oh, it's so good to see you. What are you doing here? Well, what's going on? Why are you here? And he said, Judge, over the last year, I've lost 11 of my comrades to suicide. And he said, I could feel myself spiraling. He said, I knew what was happening to me. And he said, but I knew where to go to get help. And so I checked myself into the DOM for 30 days just to get myself straight. Now that's huge, because it wasn't anything that we did. It was completely him, and he knew how to handle the situation when he started to spiral again. He knew where the services were, and he knew how to get those services, and he knew what to do when that happened. That is the win, right? That if you're going to talk about what's best and how do I get a win out of this? It's when they do it themselves, when they see that something's going wrong and they know where to go and they know how to get there and they do it themselves. They don't need us, and that's the best thing in the world. We would love I would love to work myself out of a job, right? That nobody ever comes back to court again. Probably not going to happen in my lifetime, but I can keep trying. This is one of those situations where that is happening, where that has occurred. And this person he's not going to come back as a defendant for sure. He may come back and join us as a mentor or something like that, but he's not going to come back as a defendant because he knows that he has services, he knows where to get those services, and he's able to do that and able to stay healthy. So, I guess in a nutshell, that's the power of veterans courts. We need veterans courts everywhere. I would love to see every single veteran that got cited into a court have access to a veterans court. That would be amazing. Or at the very least, have them identified and say, okay, you might have these services available. That would be fantastic. And I think if we can work towards that and get that word out, that veterans courts have that power to help people, especially those that come into the legal system, we'll see veterans that become healthy and that are great and upstanding members of the community. So I appreciate being able to talk with you folks today. I'm not passionate about this at all. It really just something I do on the side and don't have a lot of time for. As you can see, I am very passionate, love this. It works. More important than anything, it works. And it works because we care, but also because we do it right. And I think that's important. We need to know that we're doing it right. So with that, I don't know if I have any more time, but if there are any questions that anybody has, love to be able to answer those questions, or any jokes that are better than mine. Those would be fantastic too.
All right. Thank you very much, Judge. We're going to turn it over to for questions and comments. Kathy.
Hi,
Judge
Kathy.
Kay, I don't have any good jokes, unfortunately, but I just want to applaud you, sir, for your passion, for your heart, for your aloha. And thank you also for being part of the team that hosted that first conference. I know you were part of that. What is the team thinking about next steps? Are we going to have another statewide conference? How are we going to keep the legal community engaged?
I know that the goal is to make that an annual conference, and I think plans are already getting started to make that happen. I think now we're probably looking at a 2-day conference. There was a lot that got put into one day. It was too much. There's a lot more discussion that could and should happen. There's a lot more sidebars that need to happen. And with as busy as we were that day, I think that the goal is to really make that a 2-day event. And we have enough information to do that.
Sir, who is spearheading that? Is that the AG's Veterans Council group, or is there a different group?
So right now, that's going through our Arizona Office of Courts. Our court administration is kind of spearheading that, and they've got some people tagged to make sure that happens. Right now, it's coming through the court system, which makes sense. I think that's the way that it should be, and we've got some judges that have a lot of passion for that and are willing to do whatever is necessary.
Well, we appreciate you being an advocate extraordinaire for this cause. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Any other commissioners have comments? Okay. Any speakers have comments? Okay. Any of the public have any comments? Okay. Hearing none. Thank you again, Judge. Really appreciate it. All right. Our next speaker is Mr. Lee Fernwalt from the Arizona Purple Star Schools and more.
There we go. Sorry. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I have been with the Arizona Department of Ed since 2018. I originally started as the Troops to Teachers Coordinator, where I helped military members enter the field of education. My role has expanded and changed over the last couple of years because Troops to Teachers, unfortunately, was sunsetted and didn't have any more appropriation for funds. But in any case, I moved forward, changed the program to Troops to Educators, where I focus on all jobs within a school system, and I help active duty spouses, anyone connected to the military, enter the field of education.
More recently, Arizona passed a law came into effect this past July called the Arizona Purple Star Schools. It was signed by the governor in April. We now join 40 other states in having a Purple Star school program. Every state must enact legislation in order to have such a designation. My experience, I'm a Navy veteran. I hunted for submarines when we weren't in the Gulf and boarded ships when we were in the Gulf. And then I decided to chase money, and that just didn't work out too well after everything that happened with 9/11 and the field that I was in. And I was a great instructor in the Navy, and so did my family, my mother, and so on. So I moved into education and began teaching in elementary school, and then decided to move up into high school. And then I got tired of being told no, so I moved into school administration so that I could say yes. And since that time, as I said, I've been with Arizona Department of Ed since 2018. And I oversee 3 different programs, one being the Troops to Educators, I just mentioned, SkillBridge, which is a Department of Defense internship that allows active duty members to intern at any one of Arizona's schools that participate for up to 1 semester in length, sort of have them try before you buy and hopefully have them enter the field of education. As a former administrator, I'd rather hire a military individual than anyone else because military understands scope, sequence, which is what kids need, and kids need structure. And I honestly believe if we had more military individuals in the classroom, I think our students will be far better off. With the advent of Purple Star Schools, I was fortunate enough yesterday, I met with Guinea Saunter, the principal of Starline Elementary in Lake Havasu, and they started their program about 3 months ago. And they needed some steps because they're trying to figure out how they can identify military-connected individuals. And the interesting thing that I'm finding about schools around the state is that they ask if they're a veteran or military-connected during enrollment, but yet that information is never passed on to the school or even utilized. So we're trying to take steps to take that information and have it spread forward within the school so that teachers understand if there's a military-connected child that there's some additional supports they may need. Bear with me, I'm looking at my PowerPoint I did. So there's a couple things that military kids often say, and I'm sure many of you would agree. The kids didn't sign up for the military, their parents did. And often they have to follow their parents wherever they may go. And that one thing that the students have said is if teachers could understand what they may go through or what their family may go through would be a major benefit to help them succeed in school. Arizona's military community, an interesting thing I just found out was Arizona's number 9 when it comes to Department of Defense spending, and we're about 15th when it comes to the number of military individuals in our state. So there's a definite population of students that could be benefited by the Arizona Purple Star School. So an Arizona Purple Star School is one that understands that military-connected individuals transition 2 to 3 times every 3 years, and that they may transition to a different school up to 6 to 9 times during their academic career. Highly mobile students, under the law it says highly mobile, military-connected students. Unfortunately, I was part of, in Washington, D.C., a military-connected education coalition, and they were pushing the fact that in that definition of highly mobile, there's some other subgroups that can be assisted, and this is going to be a great asset to the peer portion of this particular program, which we'll cover in a second. But under highly mobile, it includes foster, migrant, and refugee. So if a peer program often supports those additional subgroups, then those military-connected children can also help those students succeed as well. So a Arizona Purple Star School would be designated, they send an application to me indicating that they're going to attest to several different things. One, they're going to know that they need to help and transition military-connected students a little bit differently than other students. Even following the MIC3 Commission Compact, that there's some additional supports that may be needed. Also to identify if deployments happen, how a student's behavior may change when a loved one or the family member gets deployed, and they may not know when they're coming back or when they're going to see them. It also helps fill in educational gaps, curriculum overlaps, and also varying graduation requirements. The interesting thing about it is this program originally started in Ohio, and it has spread to, like I said, we're now about 43 states right now that are designated as Purple Star School states. But the interesting thing, through Columbia Law Leadership Survey, they found that 77% of schools had a positive to very positive impact for implementing a Purple Star School program. Additionally, teachers also reported 53% of Purple Star School students actually improved academically overall. And then the one thing that also came out was students who feel understood statistically show improvement in their academic performance. This thus reinforces the purpose of an Arizona Purple Star School system. So, requirements, there is not a great deal of like a heavy lift, if you will, but the Arizona Department of Ed does have a great website that I put together that's divided into two sections. One for the school, so the school system, the teachers, the principal, administration can get training materials to help educate their staff. But there's also a second section which is devoted to parents. It has the same kind of information, but it goes a little bit further so they can provide additional resources and supports. For example, all the school liaison officers at each of the Arizona's 5 military bases can assist families who are military connected in making sure that their kids are getting the services that they need. They also must attest that they're going to provide in-person training to 70% of their staff about military culture, the benefits of understanding that, and what things they can do to help a military-connected child. And then also the most important thing that I believe in is the peer-to-peer program that is a requirement, meaning that the school administration is supposed to identify students that would make great peer mentors to other military-connected children, but also those previous subgroups that I mentioned as well, because I truly believe a military student that is used to moving and has gone through this maybe several times can help those other subgroups, because they too as well get moved around a lot and may need some additional support and to feel welcomed when they arrive at a new school. Let's see. So the Arizona Purple Star, or the Purple Star program, was actually, like I said, the legislature was involved. Military families were talked to and got feedback about how they can help their children. Education bodies included other principals, superintendents, and then also support organizations such as the Military Child Education Coalition and also Armed Force Advocates presented to the Arizona legislature to help make this become law and also develop the program. The future of the program, it's interesting that in that same training I went to in DC, there is also a push that's going to be coming this way sometime, I'm not sure when, but Purple Star colleges. And the reason being is we have juniors and seniors that still transition just as much as the younger kids with families, but they are also falling through the gaps, if you will, and cracks when it comes to transitioning to college. So there is actually approximately 3 to 4 states that have Purple Star college programs, and I envision that I would hope Arizona would take this on as well. Because of all these changes and the different programs, my title has changed to the Military Community Liaison, and anything that's military related, it seems to come to me, which I don't mind. I love my job, and I love being out there to support the community. The cost for this program, it does not cost the school any money to join. The only thing that may cost a minimal amount is the cost of a banner or something on those lines, and that's just because the legislature didn't provide any line item funding to provide banners for schools to advertise. My goal is hopefully find some magic pot of money so that we would have banners to be able to give to these schools. And my goal is, even though we may have about 53 schools at this time, which Lake Havasu has about 4 or 5, if I remember correctly. But my goal would be to have Kingman, Flagstaff, every school in our state become a Purple Star school state. Maybe to surpass, let's say, for example, South Carolina that has 437 schools. So Arizona has approximately 635 school districts with a number of schools scattered. I would love to have Arizona say, hey, you know what, we're a Purple Star school state, and we support every military-connected individual, and that includes what I am finding as of yesterday, and it was mentioned earlier, reservists. They don't seem to feel that they deserve the same benefits. And I really want to crush that and make that be that they get the same benefits, that they feel welcomed and supported because they are serving our country as well. On my website, if you were to just type in my name, Lee Fernwaltz, or type in Troops to Educators, I'm probably going to be the only one that's going to pop up because I've been doing this for such a long time, and Troops to Educators is just one of those things that seems to catch people's minds. I do thank you again for this opportunity, and if I'm allowed to have any questions, I would be happy to take any at this time.
All right, thank you very much. We'll start with the commissioners first. Any questions or comments?
Yes.
Yep, Kathy?
I hope I didn't miss it, Lee. First, thanks for being there today. Exciting to see you. How many schools then are right now part of the Purple Star program in Arizona? I don't think I heard that.
Approximately 53. So basically, it's very easy. A school can get designated as a Purple Star school before they complete all the requirements. And that is, the main reason is to, one, get ignite the fire, if you will, to get them on board. And then they are testing that they're going to get things done in a timely manner. I give them 90 days. Often it turns into 120. But they basically just have to advertise on their website that they're a Purple Star school. They're going to provide a list of resources for parents to have support. And then also, every school, the district is not an appropriate, it's not a Purple Star school district. It needs to be a Purple Star school. The reason is a family goes to the school. They don't often go to the district office. So it's very important that a school is the warm handoff and the welcoming body for that family.
So just like the legal community is starting to host conferences for all interested parties in veteran treatment courts, do you envision the opportunity for you to bring together the 53 Purple Star schools and others who might be interested? It sure would be interesting to do something like that. What are your thoughts?
Actually, I'm in the thought process of that. I'm a one-man show.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for being here, and I love to go to many places and speak to spread the word. So, but my goal is to, yes, I would love to break it into a couple regions. I would love to come up to Northern Arizona and, help launch this program, make it stronger, but also include those subgroups, which I think military can help benefit those individuals, but also the reservist and those rural schools that sadly they think, oh, we don't have any military children. But in reality, there's many reservists out there that do serve. There's also individuals that under the MIC-3 Commission are entitled to that service 1 year after separation. So there is such a great need, and I think that we can definitely blow this into a positive thing.
My final question is, what can we do as commissioners from across the state of Arizona? Who are the ideal people to introduce Purple Star schools to? What are the talking points, and who should we talk to?
I've already reached out to all the county superintendents, and they kind of get the information out from my understanding. But it would be any superintendent of a school district, principals even, because it's a school-based program. And anyone that you come in contact that's education connected, I think would be a great opportunity. And let them know that you don't have to have a military child identified to have this great designation, but also to support students as a whole.
I have a question. Can private schools and charter schools be Purple Heart schools?
That's an excellent question, and the answer is yes, most definitely. And it's written into law that way. We actually have, of those 53 schools, there's about maybe 9 charter schools and about 6 parochial schools already. We have one in the Phoenix area, and we have about, I can't remember the exact number, but the rest are in Yuma.
Yeah. Now, what about like homeschool?
So
how would they do that?
Homeschool would be a little difficult in the sense that a couple of requirements is they have to have a veteran-themed assembly that supports the military, is politically neutral, and then have to train 70% of their staff, which I guess if it's just one person, it would kind of be it. But that would be a really difficult thing since there's no real body of students to promote the
Yeah, 'cause
service.
There's no student interaction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, some homeschoolers will have either large families.
Yeah.
There's some large families up here in this part of Arizona, or they have like a collective co-op with other students.
I could see that being an acceptable thing. If a co-op of homeschoolers would get together and someone would spearhead it, because in that requirement, you have to have a point of contact, and then training for the other partners of the homeschooling, but then to have that student interaction to show, you know, the positive thing what our armed forces do for us as a whole is, I think, the main goal and the intent of the way the law was written.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commissioners?
I just want to state that Lee gave a presentation in this seminar at the Arizona Military Families Symposium, and it was great. He brought along a couple of really impressive young people.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions from the speakers? Anybody online? Okay, anybody out in the audience have any questions or comments? Yes, sir. And please state your name and any organization that you're with.
Yes, sir. That would be wonderful. So,
It's something I think that would help the veterans because these young guys and gals are getting out and going, what do? And what better way to train them from that program? But I don't think many people know about it.
so there's a couple things. One, well, my skill bridge is dedicated to educators in the education field. But there is two organizations here in the state. One I work with very closely, which is the Arizona Coalition for Military Families. They actually have about 9 people that work with helping military connected enter many fields for SkillBridge. And the second one is Hiring Our Heroes. Those two organizations have dedicated people to help individuals that are active duty military do the SkillBridge program. If they're not active duty, that would have to be something specifically that could help with maybe Hiring Our Heroes, or the Arizona Coalition may be able to help with. But from my standpoint, I actually do have a couple individuals, one in Flagstaff, and I believe there's one in Lake Havasu who wants to use SkillBridge to enter the education field.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next speaker is Pat Farrell from the Jerry Ambrose Transitional Housing. Okay, can you come up to the podium and speak, please?
First off, I'd like to thank the commission for coming to Mojave County today. My name is Casey Farrell, and I'm the Director of Programs for the Jerry Ambrose Veterans Council of Mojave County. We do several things for our veterans in our community. One of them is our transportation program, where we take and we transport any veteran to medical and to legal appointments. It's on a first come, first served basis and availability. We use volunteer drivers to transport. They all have to go through PASS training, and they all have to be CPR and first aid certified in order to take and drive for us. And we pay for them to pass those certifications so that our veterans are in the best possible hands. We have vehicles where we can transport up to 3 wheelchairs at one time. And we do that. We're averaging a little over 3,000 miles per month in transporting. We transport to anywhere here in Kingman, to Bullhead City, to Lake Havasu City, to Flagstaff, Prescott, Henderson, Las Vegas, Tucson, Phoenix, all those areas. And thank goodness we have one volunteer who just loves to, pardon the expression, be on the road again. And so that's one of the programs that we do through the Jerry Ambrose Veterans Council. We also work with our local private prison and the GEO group we provide the material and they build tiny homes for us. We currently have 7 of them that are in a couple different RV parks here. The veteran pays a very small amount of money for insurance purposes. They pay their lot fee and they pay their utilities, of course, to the RV park, and that's all that they pay. Hence giving them another affordable housing opportunity. We also do tons of referrals. We probably get 2 to 3 dozen phone calls a day where I hear you do claims. No, we don't do claims, but I can gladly give you the number and get you set up with a person who can help you with that. So our staff is highly trained in where to refer them. And we're always looking for new partners to come in to add to that resource list that we can share with our veterans. One of the other things that we do is we do a low demand safe haven program, which is a program for veterans who have not been successful in other types of transitional housing programs, such as the Grant Per Diem program. It's a contract with the VA where we provide services. I will tell you the contract does not cover everything that we provide for our veterans. When our veterans leave our program, they take the bed that they have slept on in our program, if they choose to. We buy them a brand new platform to put it on. And in conjunction with the Elks Lodge here in town, we take and provide them with about $300 worth of new items based on their needs for their new place. Currently, we have placed everyone who has come into our program into the their housing choice. We have placed them in out of state, if that's their choice. It's a little more challenging because we don't always know all the resources, but we're getting really great at connecting. Again, as they mentioned, the Chamber of Commerce is a very good source to kind of enter in through to connect with. Other veteran service organizations will connect with in those towns that they want to go into, and then we're able to set that up for them. Currently, the VA came in a week ago and said we had to get our veterans out of our program. And we said, why? They said, well, you have to close the business. We'll get back to you later. Later that day, they got back to us and they said we had an unsafe building. And that was on a Tuesday. And they said, by Thursday, you will have a list of what you need to do or what we believe is wrong. We waited patiently. Thursday came and went. Friday afternoon between 3 and 3:30, we received the email containing the letter of what was required of us. One thing they said was that we had inoperable sprinklers in our construction zone. That has been verified to be a false statement. First Due, who is a third party who inspects them annually, just completed an inspection in January. And they came back out yesterday and said, yep, everything's still working and you have exactly what you need. I would say one thing that we need to work on is the VA goes by a different code than most cities and towns do. My understanding is the cities and so forth, they go through the International Fire Code. The VA goes through the NFPA Fire Code. It would be great if they were both on the same page. And I will state an example why this would be great if they adopted one standard and everyone went with it, is because we were and still are in the process of renovating the building. We are only actively working in one part of it, what we call phase 1. In phase 2, there is steps to a basement that before we entered into a contract with the VA was deemed by the city of 326 square feet basement, that the best thing that could be done is that basement sealed off because of the astronomical cost that it would take to get into 6 inches of concrete in the ceiling to put a fire suppressant system in there for only 326 square feet. So it was sealed off, and it was told it must remain sealed off for you to occupy your building. It has remained sealed off. The VA wants to bust through it because they want to see. So we are kind of in the middle of the, I like to call it the fire battle between VA saying no and the City of Kingman saying this is what you need to do. City of Kingman has wrote a letter to the VA stating that this was what was to be done. They are doing exactly what they were told to be done. I arranged for them to get together at a re-inspection meeting, and the VA canceled that meeting. They had asked to see blueprints and permits. I had them at that meeting because if any of you have ever had them scanned to you, you can't read them once they're scanned to you. So I had hard copies there for them on the meeting that they canceled, which was another thing that they cited in the letter. I have since found out from the city clerk that they pulled the permits on April 4th, so they've had them for over a month now, and they're still requesting them from us. We do have a leaky roof. That was due to a bad roof job by a contractor in town. We are in the process of, we have a CDBG grant that was going to be included in. We have since decided to pull it out because the CDBG grant has to have construction and everything completed by December 31st, our phase 2 plus the roof. Not knowing for sure until they get up there and they start yanking things off the roof, what exactly is going to be going on there. We were afraid it wouldn't be completed by the end of the time. So therefore, we are taking and doing that ourselves. We had a structural engineer come in. The plans will be out June 13th. And then we're proceeding on to take and meet with the, all the requirements that they're saying. Hopefully they accept the plan and what we have laid out. And then we will be back doing our transitional housing program. To date, we have had 26 in just a little over a year graduate from the program and are in their housing. when we were running the prior program, which was a GPD program, we were above average in our meeting our benchmarks and our goals for placing. I have to brag on my staff and say they are wonderful at what they do. They take that extra time. The majority of our staff are veterans. One problem, though, that we have with this low-demand safe haven program that hopefully we can get some assistance with, and the other low-demand programs across the United States, which there are under 20 total, and it's, like I said, for the ones that have not been successful in GPD programs and have more barriers, there is a barrier that I understand has been placed on them, not by the VA, but by Congress, that they must be eligible for VA health care. I have turned away about between 22 and 25% of the people who have asked to be screened to come into our program because they were not eligible for VA health care. So that is a problem. Pat Farrell has reached out to representatives and senators and so forth and encouraged them to try to get that lifted, because if this program is for the ones that have had the most barriers, you're putting another barrier on them. They're finally reaching out and wanting help, and they can't get it. And to me, that's a very sad thing. Some of the other things that we're doing is we're getting ready to open a thrift shop and a greenhouse where we will have veterans out there growing fruits, vegetables, where they will be given to veterans, their families, or whatever is produced will be given away. If any of you know through any behavioral health background, one of the best things in dealing with PTSD is taking and getting your hands dirty, getting into doing some growing of things and so forth. It's very therapeutic. So that was giving veterans another outlet where they may be unable to work due to their disability, but they could volunteer some time, have that connection with their brothers and sisters in arms, and take and feel like they're doing something positive for their community.
Okay, we have to move on, but I really appreciate everything that you're saying. Can you quickly sum up everything?
Yes. We are constantly expanding veteran services throughout. It takes a community to do this. We have been very blessed with the support of our community. There's just some things we need to fine-tune, I think, as communities, and it's just not our community, but other communities, like I said, like everyone being on the same fire codes, you know, the VA and the state and the city and so forth. And the thing is, we want to end homelessness. As Judge Kay said, he wanted to be without a job. I'm looking forward to being without a job one day because all of our veterans are housed. And I want to thank you for listening and for your continued support, and anything that we can do to help you, help the communities, not just ours, but others, please feel free to contact me.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions or comments from the commissioners? Anybody online? Okay, any speakers? Okay, anybody from the audience? Please come up to the microphone, state your name and your organization.
Hi, my name is Frankie Lyons, the CEO of Veterans United Arizona. We're going into our 14th year of service here in Mojave County. We have served over 2,500 vets. I can prove that with the phone numbers in my phone. One of the big problems with organizations who are doing good and asking for grants from everybody is accountability. And I see a lot of misinformation out there in regards to services for accountability, the money that the VA is presented and money from the community. And I think before any more money is distributed, it needs to be accounted for that you gave away before.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from the audience? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to our next agenda item, review and approval of commission minutes of the last meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of May 1st, 2025?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any amendments or any corrections? Okay, is there any discussion, amendments, or corrections? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from May 1st, 2025 signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, the motion carries. All right, next we're moving on to agency announcements and updates. First is a department update from Gary Ochoa, our Deputy Director.
All right, good morning, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Director Scott, unfortunately, was not able to be here this morning. Is that not working? It's the green lights on. Yeah, it's green. Green. All right, so I just wanted to say welcome to all the veterans out there, those that have served. I appreciate your service. I served 22 years in the Marine Corps, so it's near and dear to my heart. To all the veterans who are out there, the spouses, you know, they're the ones that keep things going while we were deployed. So, you know, I have an appreciation for you as well. I've been married 35 years. And my wife, she was along the journey the whole way. How she put up with me, I will never know, but I'm very thankful. And to those that are currently serving on active duty, reserves, National Guard, our prayers are with them. And for all of you here that are working with these service organizations, all these great programs that are out there, we cannot do what we do with the Arizona Department of Veterans Services without your help. So to hear things like the judge working, you know, with the courts, vet courts, what we're doing with education, what we're doing with homelessness out there. I remember years ago in 2008, I met Judge Pollard down in Tucson, and we were working with him to help veterans in that community, and to see it growing throughout the state and how successful it is just proof that if we work together as a team, we can accomplish some great things. So thank you again. For the department, Director Scott, as many of you know, was confirmed by the Arizona State Senate with a unanimous vote. His confirmation was also helped by dozens of community members testifying in support of the director's confirmation. So that was just great to see. And he's going to do some great things at the helm. Just to discuss briefly his priorities, he wants to address veteran homelessness, and that's near and dear to his heart, I know, and delivering resources and support to rural and tribal communities. He's also trying to travel throughout the state to highlight veteran accomplishments and working with stakeholders out there. So I'm sure if you haven't seen him yet, you're going to see him here soon. So getting just to different parts of the department, I'll start with our Veterans Benefits Counselors. We have about 60 throughout the state. We have a southern, central, and a northern region. I have a northern region manager here, Reagan Stoller. He's doing a great job up here, him and his team. We recently had a Veterans Benefits Conference in Flagstaff. It was very successful. We've learned that we're now bringing $98.8 million per month into the state on federal dollars leveraged based on what Veterans Benefits Counselors are doing. So talking about a bang for our buck. They're doing some great things out there. their accreditation, their certification that they have, the continued training that they have, and how they're assisting our veterans, their eligible dependents to develop and submit the claims to Veterans Affairs. And the success rate, correct me if I'm wrong, we're at about 95% approval rate with the VA. Just shows that, you know, if you work with our team here, you're gonna have a much higher success rate of getting a claim approved by Veterans Affairs. So again, a great job by our Veterans Benefits Counselors. Our cemeteries, we recently had two successful Missing in America projects. For those that are unaware of what that is that we inter veterans who were previously were unclaimed, and we bring them into our cemeteries. We had one at Camp Navajo, up here at Flagstaff, and we also did a Missing America project down in Marana. We had 13 that we interred, and many more that we've done over the course of the year and previous years. And we bury them with dignity, honor, and respect. So we're bringing them home. So great job by our cemeteries. Also, just as for information, we have 2 expansion grants that we're currently working with Veterans Affairs to expand our cemetery at Marana and also expanding our cemetery down in Sierra Vista. We recently finished an expansion at Camp Navajo near Flagstaff. So that continued partnership with the VA is truly appreciated. If you haven't had a chance to get to one of our cemeteries, please do. They're beautiful. And for the veterans out there and the spouses of veterans, dependents of veterans, the veterans can be laid to rest, free burial, free plot, free headstone. All we need is your D-214 to get to apply. And again, I would encourage you to come out and take a look. So switching over to our state veterans homes. For those that aren't aware, our state veterans homes are skilled nursing facilities. And I have Cameron Farr here to my left. He's the administrator at our Arizona State Veteran Home in Flagstaff. That's currently just recently opened up. We have 6 veterans that are residents in that home. We could use your help. We're trying to get up to 20 veterans in that home so we can finally get inspected by the VA and open up the other wings. And it's an 80-bed unit or skilled nursing facility. So we'd like to have 80 residents in that home, and we'd appreciate your help. It's a beautiful facility. If you haven't been up there to Flagstaff to take a look at the home, I'm sure Cameron would love to, him and his team would love to just show you around, and a great place for our folks there. We also have 3 other veterans homes. We have one in Yuma, Tucson, and in Phoenix. The one in Yuma is a newer home as well. We're opening up our last wing, and it's an 80-bed facility. And that last wing is going to be a memory care unit. We just opened it this week. So we're encouraged to see that growing there in the Yuma community. Tucson, we have a 120-bed facility, beautiful home. It's a 5-star facility. So it's being operated by Bob and his team. They're just doing a great job down there. And last I checked, their census, they were at 120 residents. So they're doing a great job down there. Our Phoenix home is a 104-bed facility. Yesterday's census, I believe, was at 88, 89. So we're getting that filled up. It's an older facility. We've got a lot of work we need to do there. We recently had the Home Depot came on board and on April Fool's Day. And I went out there to talk to the group. Hundreds and hundreds of people out there from Home Depot and volunteers at the Phoenix home, and they volunteered their time and resources. They came in and did some repairs, some painting. They built a lot of things for us down there, and it's just, again, really encouraging to see the support that we're getting from the community. We're also trying to, I mentioned earlier that the director's trying to get more resources out to our rural and underserved communities, in particular our tribal communities. So we're using Starlink. We're deploying those out in different areas of the state so that folks can have access to the internet. We're also, some of our veterans benefits counselors on Reagan's team, we're giving them Starlink so that, because we're trying to hire in rural areas. In the past, we didn't hire in rural areas as veterans benefits counselors because they didn't have good internet. So there's a lot of quality folks that we were missing, but now we're able to to address that gap. So that's been a true success, and we're continuing to work there. A couple programs that I want to mention, the Military Family Relief Fund that we have, and the Toolkit program. The Military Family Relief Fund is monies that a veteran can apply for if they're needing help with an emergent need. You know, they need to pay their rent, electricity, water, gas, those type of things. I encourage you to take a look at our Military Family Relief Fund. We can do $3,000 emergency assistance, and it's up to a higher dollar amount over a lifetime benefit, but a great program, again, the Military Family Relief Fund. And then we have the Toolkit program, who we use Arizona at Work to help us out with that. Somebody had mentioned about folks trying to get to work. If you're needing tools, equipment, uniforms, you need to repair your transportation to get to and from work, that Toolkit program is there to provide assistance to you. Briefly, also, we have our small grants program and our large grants program. Small grants program, we can, if granted, you can get up to $4,999, $5,000, and not have to pay that back. If you have something out there where you're assisting veterans directly, I would encourage you to apply. I feel it's an underutilized program, and we have plenty of money in the program to be able to get some help for you. We had a commander's call this morning at the American Legion, and a couple of folks came up to me and just said, I need help. We don't have a lot of resources down here. Great program. If you want to try to develop something, start something up, or if you have something that's just short on funds, the small grant program is an excellent tool. The large grant was recently expanded up to $100,000. We do that once a year. It's a competitive grants process, but I would highly encourage you to use that. I actually found out this morning at the commander's call that there's a organization here in the area where we purchased them a brand new van where they're able to drive folks to their medical appointments, and it's actually accessible to those with disabilities. But it was really cool to see on the other end. You sign the documents to approve it, but you don't get to see the actual, where it's actually meeting the veterans. So that was actually done with Jerry Ambrose Transitional Housing and more, their team. So I appreciate the time that we had this morning to talk a little bit about that. I can go on, like you, Judge. I can go on for hours and hours on different things that we're doing within the department. But I just want to say that I'm proud of the team that I have within the department. We had an operations and business review yesterday, and hearing all the things that we're doing throughout the state, it is just really cool to see. And I'm confident in saying that the folks that are working with us, they are here for the right reasons, and we are here for you. So if you need anything from us, please don't hesitate to reach out and give us a call, or take a look at our website, and we'll try to meet you where you are. Again, thank you for your service and for serving those that have served.
Okay, do we have any questions? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, when I heard you talk about the veterans' homes and the different locations, noticeably missing was Mojave County. We don't have anything in Mojave County. Are we ever going to see something in Mojave County?
Matter of fact, this is one of our agenda items that we're going to talk about.
Excellent.
And we'll have.
Because one of the things that I hear from our veterans is exactly that. We see all this stuff going on, northern Arizona, southern Arizona, Phoenix, Tucson, but what about Mojave County? And if we're going to look at that today, that's outstanding.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Online, is there any questions? Okay, out in the audience, please come up to the podium. We'll have a race. And please state your name and your organization if you have one.
Connie Hargreaves. I'm the outgoing legislative chairperson for the VFW Auxiliary for the state of Arizona and a member of VFW Auxiliary 11014, American Legion 103, and American Legion Auxiliary 103 in Meadview. And you mentioned Starlink. How do I get Starlink out to Meadview and Dolan Springs, White Hills, Chloride? We're all an hour away from getting into Kingman, hour and a half from Henderson, 2 hours from Vegas, 3 hours from Prescott, 4 hours from Flagstaff, 4.5 hours from Phoenix, and 5 hours to Yuma or Tucson. Actually, Tucson's more closer to 6. So how can we get the Starling program, and what do we need to do to get our veterans informed? So that's my takeaway from yours, and I have more when the VA comes up, when the home comes up.
Well, thank you for your question. The Starling kits that we currently have are limited, and we're focusing on our tribal communities currently, and we have some of the Starlinks that we're moving to the regions within the southern and central and northern regions for our veterans benefits counselors. Down the road, expanding that program, I think, is going to be a good move for us. But currently, those are the two areas that we're concentrating on.
So in Meadview, we have home city of 5,000 people. Of that, 1,250 are veterans. That's higher than what the percentage is for Mojave County, percentage-wise, per population group. So we really need something out there. So please put Meadview and Dolan and White Hills, and I didn't even include those in those statistics. And they are a smaller community than what Meadview is. White Hills is closer to Nevada than Meadview. Thank you.
Ma'am, if I could, we also have what we call itinerant locations for our veterans benefits counselors, where we're going out to rural areas and meeting clients or veterans face to face. We got Reagan Stoller here. He's, again, as I mentioned, our northern region manager, so he knows where those itinerant locations are and where we're having those partnerships with different folks. So we create these license agreements or MOUs with, let's say, like a VFW, DAV, American Legion, other areas where they have an office space that's empty, and what we'll do is we'll send a veterans benefits counselor out there on certain days, different time frames, and we'll assist clients face to face. So if you have an area that has a need, I think that would be a good place to start. Reagan, can you add to that?
We have a veteran service officer that comes out to Dolan Springs the first Thursday of the month only. That is full now until September. Today, I didn't come to the commander's call because we were talking with Amy Kohler from the VA with a veteran today, which kept me from coming here because I drove them in 65 miles to be able to talk to a veteran service officer still. So if our veterans have the way of communicating, which we have terrible reception out there with Frontier or Verizon that provide internet, we really need the help out there for our people to be able even to do those talks. Thank you.
So at the morning's commander's call, I did work with the commander of a lot of those areas, and we have some plans currently to go out to Meadview and some of those other areas. We do have a veterans benefit counselor in Dolan Springs currently, but I'd be more than happy to address the situation and figure out if we have to increase the cadence. Thank you for that, though.
Yeah, make sure you get her contact information before we leave today.
My question is about...
Please state your name.
Casey Farrell, the Jerry Ambrose Veterans Council. And my question is about the Flagstaff home. Are you equipped to have a memory wing or anything like that?
We sure are. It's looking to be the final wing that we actually open. However, on a case-by-case basis, we'll have our IDT, our clinical team, look at the individual referrals. I'll make sure that I come and I stop by and shake your hand and get some contact information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions online? Okay, thank you very much. Our next is our legislative liaison update. Julia, our legislative liaison, is she online?
Yes. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks again for the invitation to present this morning. There aren't too many updates. I just wanted to make sure that I gave kudos to all those organizations that are following up on our are two bills that were passed last session. The Purple Schools bill, that was something that ACDVS was involved in and made sure that we got that passed, along with PTSD suicide bill. This was a bill that ACMF just recently reached out to us. They have a client who spouse was a veteran who had passed away due to suicide, self-inflicted suicide, and his family members, his spouse and his children, qualified for tuition waivers in all state schools. So that was a bill that we pushed to get passed last session. Moving forward to this session, we're still currently waiting to hear back from our SB 1704 bill, which is to allow AZDVS to utilize VDF funding for our homes. That's still pending. We feel very positive that that's going to go through. As you know, the governor is still in conversations regarding the budget, so our bill is caught up in that budget conversation. Other than that, we still have 14 bills pending that may or may not get through. The two bills that did get through, the impersonation bill that many of you all were advocates for, that one was signed and passed through the governor's office. And an vehicle efficiency, a license plate bill that just passed. We went to a ceremony this morning and spoke about purchasing those specialty plates, the Freedom plates, the Veteran plate, and the Women Veteran plates. All three of those plates feed into the Veterans Donation Fund, and we've utilized that to give organizations such as JAVC, different organizations, the small and the large VDF funding. Other than that, I just wanted, it's going to be short today. I have a meeting at 12 o'clock, which I'm sitting here in the parking lot speaking to you all with our legislator, our our Representative Stanton, and we'll be discussing future legislation. And I want to give kudos to this commission and also to all those members that are sitting in the Veterans Caucus. We are reforming the way we're going to be running bills next session. So I'm excited to be involved with that process, and I look forward to meeting with all of you who are interested in advocating for legislation that is going to advance our veterans in the state of Arizona.
Okay, before we go to any questions, Julia's little legislative update reports are becoming quite popular around the Capitol, and you know, I see them forwarded to me from other people that aren't even involved. And it's like, hey, look at this great thing I found. So good job, Julia. You're getting quite famous up there. Is there any questions for
Gary,
Julia?
I just want to point out, because she is getting quite popular with other groups, don't let her go.
Yeah.
Hey,
have
I
a
attend our
question.
JAVC meetings, and I look forward to our meetings to discuss legislation. I'm a bit of a nerd. I love what I do, and I'm glad to be back here in Arizona. I was in DC for a couple of years, but I'm excited for the next session because I think bigger and better things are going to be coming our way now that more veterans are getting involved with legislation.
Okay, I have a question online from Kathy.
Yeah, Julia, I just want to give you a shout out. We need your nerdness big time. You know, several of us from the commission are working on the Veteran Caucus Board, and we see you as a key ally and advocate and expert as we try to streamline our processes. So thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions? Kathy, did you raise your hand again? Okay, any questions from audience? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go on to old business. Discussion, possible action to establish a fact-finding committee, RE, the implications of the summer heat on veteran housing and homeless veterans and their families. Can I have a motion to discuss the establishment of a fact-finding committee?
Do we have to have a motion for that, or?
We do, just so we can close this item out.
Yeah, I make a motion that.
Okay, Chuck makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And Chuck, could you lead the discussion on this, please?
Yes.
Okay, you can go ahead now.
He froze. Yeah, Internet froze on him. Get him a Starlink.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. All right, so you want to put together a fact-finding commission. We lost quite a few veterans. We lost a lot of other people, that died with we get these heat-related areas. And, we talked to the governor about it, and she was going to get FEMA a little bit more involved in it this year. And so I'd like to find out a little bit more about what's happening, what other resources do we have on that. So.
Okay, one thing that we are aware of is that Director Scott did email out the governor's heat plan for the state. And he mentioned that there's many in the state departments working on it with the governor's office's plan this summer, and all people and veterans would be covered under this plan. And he recommended that we take a look at that plan first before we make any actions.
No, I agree.
Does anybody else have any insights on this? Kathy, you raise your hand.
I'm sorry, no, I like the idea of reviewing the study first before we create a commission.
Okay. Is there any comments from AZDVS staff on this issue?
None at this time.
Okay, any comments from online or out in the audience? Yes, ma'am. Please come up and state your name and organization.
Frankie Lyons, Veterans United Arizona. Last year we were graced with 3 of the big fans from Home Depot. We set up cooling stations that ran all night long. I know we saved a lot of lives with that. Unfortunately, last year we lost 2 people that were succumbed to the heat. But there's other agencies out there, and we'd like to be a part of that as far as reaching out and finding out how many vets are homeless in the area and other people who would benefit from those cooling down stations.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there any other discussion on this issue? Okay, so I think what's going to happen is we're going to review the governor's document before we make a decision on this. So can I have a motion to table this item until the commission finishes their review?
Yeah, motion to table.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in
Yes.
favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, the motion carries. All right, our next item on the agenda is the commission meeting planning for July 10th in Flagstaff, Arizona. Discussion and possible action. Can I have a motion to discuss the updated commission meeting?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, we have a second by Kathy. Okay, our next meeting is going to be in Flagstaff, and we have some of the staff up here that will be supporting it. Again, we're going to be doing the same scheme maneuver that we've done here. We'll be meeting with the local Veteran Service Organization commanders for breakfast in the morning. We still have to identify the venue. We'll be having our commission meeting at the state veterans home there. Okay. Obviously, if you need to get lodging, commissioners that are going up there, you need to get that done early. Flagstaff books up fast in the summer. Okay, and is there any other issues that need to come up for Flagstaff?
No, just I would say let's make sure the speakers that are good for rural. I mean, even though Flagstaff's the 3rd largest area, it's still rural.
Yes. Okay, so any proposals for speakers, any follow-up from this meeting, we can certainly have them in Flagstaff, and I'll be sending out an email in about a month or so for any proposed agenda items. Is there any other? Yes, Kathy.
I'm still curious to hear from NAU about their, military campus initiatives, if they have one. I think maybe Julio is maybe going to look into that. I'm not sure.
I think she might have dropped offline. But you want to hear the military, say that again, please?
Well, some schools have a military campus initiative and are working through the Arizona Coalition for Military Families. I'm not that familiar with what NAU is doing, but I thought Julia anticipated that might be a good speaker. So Julia is looking into it, says Lupita. Thank you.
Okay. Any other agenda items for that meeting? Okay, I'm sure they'll come up. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our next thing is Advisory Commission Conflict of Interest forms. This is for information. As you know, commissioners, upon beginning their 3-year term to apply, you have to fill out a conflict of interest form, and then every year you have to fill out a conflict of interest form. Lupita, do we have an update of who still needs to complete conflict of interest forms for this year? And then we're getting ready to do this again next year, for next year. Where's Lupita?
She's there. She was.
Phil, this is Andy Michelle. I know that I owe her a conflict of interest form, so I'll get that to her as soon as possible.
Okay, great. Anybody else that has them? Andy's the only one.
Andy is the only one.
Way to call somebody out there.
I'll
Okay.
be on the bad list.
Okay, now, everybody always wonders what happens to forms in government. I wonder too, but what we do with these forms, once we collect them, myself and the director, John Scott, and Lupita will review them and look for any conflicts of interest. Again, the 3 years that I've looked at these, I've not found a single conflict of interest. So I don't anticipate finding one. So that's good. So we at least know the commission is compliant with conflict of interest. Yeah. Okay. We'll move on to our next item. And this is one we've all been waiting for. Community discussion regarding the state veteran home in Mojave County. Okay. So what I'd like to leave with this meeting today is a common understanding of what's happening with this facility, what the community wants, and sort of the way ahead. My understanding is that we have the state has a quota to build a certain number of facilities throughout the state. So far, we've built 4. We have 3 more that we need to build. And there was an idea to put one here in Mojave County, initially down in Lake Havasu City. The way the deal works is that the community, and the community is the county or somebody has to donate 11 acres, and in exchange for that, then there's money set aside. I think it's $25 million to start the facility and everything else. Now, there's certain challenges. Some areas don't have 11 acres to donate. That's one challenge. Another challenge is we don't have enough nurses. I think I read some statistic that across the state, all medical, not just veterans and veterans, but there's like a shortfall of 28,000 nurses throughout the state. That's more than live in La Paz County, but that's due to a lot of factors. We're increasing the number of veterans in the state. I think we have like 600,000 veterans, and that's a lot more than the 3 hospitals. When you do VA math for hospitals, you're supposed to have 1 hospital for 30,000 veterans. So we're already 10 hospitals short and all that. So there's a lot of stress that's happening throughout the state when it comes to veterans health care. So right now we're at kind of a standstill because we don't have the property, but we have this money. And what's very dangerous about having money sitting around not getting spent is that it could get clawed back. That means the legislature takes the money back and they put it back into the general fund. That doesn't mean it goes necessarily back to veterans. It can go to anything else. So I want to I want to just start having a conversation here, and I know this may be emotional for some folks, so let's just try to keep this professional. But we'll start around the table. We'll start with our supervisor, and again, make sure you state your name and your organization, your positions, and try to keep them brief, one issue at a time, so that everybody gets a chance to talk. Okay, any questions before we proceed? Okay, we'll start with you, sir.
Well, from my aspect, my district, District 4, I have the largest population of the districts in Mojave County. Not the area, but the actual population of the people. In that population, we have a high number of veterans. And I understand you're looking at Havasu. I would submit that we put it in Kingman, because we have the people here in Kingman, the veterans here that we would serve would be, I think, more ideal in the Kingman area than Havasu. And like I say, I know that if Sonny Borelli was here, he'd be stumping for Havasu, and that's okay, but he's off in Washington fighting the wars there, so I'm going to stump for District 4 and say, hey, let's give it, if we're going to put a home here, let's put it in the Kingman area, because we got the population, the veteran population here, and centralized hospitals and everything. So I would encourage that we look at, if we're going to do one in Mojave County, let's put it in District 4. That would be my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Any other speakers? We have somebody from Lake Havasu that could perhaps advocate on their behalf.
I plead the fifth.
No pressure, Judge.
Yeah, none at all. I think one's definitely needed in Mojave County, and I think the people that have the opportunity to do that need to be found, and we need to reach out to them and figure out how to find the land to make it happen. And I think we can do that. Again, we're rural communities, and we know how to get things done. So I think that's what will happen.
Great. Anybody else, commissioners?
Well, I just wanted to say, Mr. Chairman, that I'm not sure I ever heard that there was a quota. Where is there a need? That's how we started the discussion 7 years ago. We need to add one at Flagstaff. We knew that. And so that's come to fruition in this amount of time. And during that time, Yuma was finished. So I'm not sure there's a quota. However, there is a need here. And so I think that the community, and if you can find us a plot of land that's 11 acres or bigger, we'd sure like to hear about it if somebody's willing to donate it, because that's the way it has to start. Is that right, Deputy Director?
Could you elaborate? Could you elaborate on the process of how a home gets built and how the land gets donated and things like that?
Yes, I can't, don't hold me to the exact process, but I know we have to have donated land. We have to appropriate monies through the state legislature. We have to submit our application to Veterans Affairs. And then Veterans Affairs, we're competing with, every state out there and the homes that they want to build. And they only have a certain amount of money that they can use per fiscal year, federal fiscal year, in order to break ground on these new homes. I can tell you lessons learned from our department when we opened up Yuma and Flagstaff. I think, and now, again, this is me talking. I think one of the issues that I saw was trying to open up two homes at the same time was probably not the best idea. It was very difficult, the logistics of trying to do that in two different locations in the state of Arizona. The other challenge I think we have is Yuma seems to be doing very well in that there's a military installation there. There's a high retiree rate in the Yuma area. You have northern Mexico, Arizona, and California that you're pulling from. And the cost of living is lower. What we're finding in Flagstaff, beautiful location, beautiful facility. There isn't a base there. Not as many retirees or veterans that are in that area. We are working with unique culture in that area with all the tribal communities and what they do with their loved ones when they're in that last chapter of life. We're finding that's a little different. And we're also finding that in Flagstaff, it is expensive. You know, and when you're throwing around Arizona government rates of salary to a nurse or a doctor, you know, it's hard to get those folks on board. And when we do get them on board, they don't seem to want to stick around. So I think there's definitely some lessons learned. We know that there's areas in Arizona where we can, where we have a need, but we have to really focus on what's going to work. And again, that's my opinion of seeing how things progress with our other two homes. And we also have to make sure that we're, through our project management team, working with Veterans Affairs and the contractors, we have to stay on them and hold them accountable and make sure they're building these facilities correctly. Because Cameron can verify that it's been a challenge, a brand new facility, all the different things we had to work through with the HVAC, leaky roofs, other things that you look at it, it's ready to go, and then we find out it's not. And it's a long, hard process. So those are some things that I think we need to keep in mind. And I do see in the future us having additional homes in the state, additional cemeteries, but it is a process.
So Jerry Ambrose is not the only organization dealing with contractor issues. One of the most interesting ones up there in Flagstaff was I think it was the suppressor system was put outside of the building in a place that freezes frequently during the winter months. So, yeah, it's common, and I do want to say that Cameron did an outstanding job of working through many of those issues.
I'm amazed at his patience. That was a long process.
Yeah.
He had a full set of hair when we hired him.
Yeah. So how long from the point of the land was donated in Flagstaff to you have 6 people in there now? How long did that take?
4 years.
4 years. Okay. So it can take a while. Okay.
Now keep in mind with our Yuma facility that opened up at the same time, we started the building process at the same time. They're both 80-bed facilities. We currently have a little over 60 in our Yuma home. We opened up our last wing, which is a memory care unit, and they're well on their way to being fully have every bed filled. But you see what we're going through with Flagstaff.
Yeah.
So this is again what I mentioned earlier is we could really use your help to get folks, veterans and their eligible dependents, to take a look at the facility. It's beautiful. It's ready to go, and we're anxious to get every bed filled.
Okay, I see that Chuck has a question.
Yes, a great point, Gary, and I really agree with that. Is that we don't want to make the same mistakes, or we call them mistakes, but we don't want to some of these barriers, because it's costing. I'm sure the Flagstaff home is actually costing us right now to maintain. I mean, we just asked for more money to be given to the, legislative Arizona, Department of Veteran Services to cover up some of these things. But, again, if we're going to build another home, we need to look at the big picture. And certainly, salary, and we need to look at that. The state really needs to look at that hard. What the state's paying and what what is actually out there, and we need to make that comparable. And how long is it going to be before we're going to start seeing Flagstaff start turning around? And I don't know. Why aren't veterans going into some of these homes? Is the eligibility Is it hard to get in? Is it something? So we need to look at all that. That's just some thoughts on that, Gary, but I definitely like your points that you brought up.
I think Cameron might have some input on that, Chuck.
Chairman, thank you. What we've seen is that we have a huge need. The number of referrals that we received since October and opening, and the actual eligibility of being able to be in the facility is the issue. So there's a huge veteran population up here in northern Arizona, and what we're finding is that the vast majority have not gone through the process with the VA of having their claims actually associated to their service. So that's what we're struggling with the most right now is if you have that veteran in your life, twist their arm, it's not normal for Uncle Joe to be losing his memory. This is a possible symptom or a diagnosis that we can get service connected. They need to go talk to a VBC or VSO and speak with us specifically. So we've just about booked out the VBCs, those counselors in our facility of Flagstaff, but we have a need. They just have not yet gone through the VA. So that's how you can help us out the most is talk about us with every veteran that you know and push those veterans to get their service connected to their injuries.
Okay, is there anybody else online that has some input on this?
If I may, Chairman, just to follow up with that, when Cameron's talking about veterans, the importance of veterans reaching out to the VA to file claims, in order for the veteran to go into a home and the VA pay for it, they have to be 70% service-connected disabled or higher, or receiving individual unemployability, have one rating of 60% or one rating at 40% with a combined rating of 70% or extra schedule consideration. Legal jargon, right? But VBCs, Veterans Benefit Counselors, can help with that process. You got veterans that are younger and healthier and not at the skill level need. Start working on those things with the VA now. Gain access to the medical care system with the VA. Start receiving disability compensation, non-service connected pensions, those type of things. You'll find as the veteran goes through those next chapters in life and they're having to need skilled nursing, it'll make that process much easier for the family. When they're needing to be interred in our cemeteries, it'll make that process easier. When we're talking about survivors' benefits for the spouse or their dependent children, it's going to make that process easier. And we're finding a lot of veterans, World War II, Korea, even Vietnam, they don't want to reach out to the VA. But I would encourage, please, for the sake of you and your families, it's something that we should do. When going to veterans, when they go to our veterans home, they can self-pay, which is very expensive. There is an option for Medicaid. We call it Altex in Arizona, but we prefer using the 70% disability and higher. That's the better option of the three.
Please state your name and your organization.
Connie Hargreaves, VFW Auxiliary 11014 in Meadview, outgoing legislative chair for the state for the auxiliary. I did go up to, and what nice program that you had on there the other day. As far as having property, we have property in Kingman. Excuse me, gotta put my glasses on, it's too small on my phone. Back in March of 2020, William Landhart from Sunbelt, they had 57 acres. At that time, it was his understanding it was 5 to 10 acres. He now knows it's 10 to 11. They still have acreage available. He wants to know more information. I've provided that both. Travis provided this gentleman to me. I have now forwarded on to Mr. Martin, Travis Lingenfelter from District 1. So we have 2 supervisors that in this area that are very involved in it. We have a mayor and city council members that are very involved in it. All of these people are willing to work with you to get this again. This is 5 years ago. Last year I fought, got signatures and sent them in. I hope you did get them. If you don't, I have copies. I have the PDFs I sent. Of people that wanted a home here in Mojave County. Prescott has another problem besides the high cost of living and everything else there. Many of the people from our county cannot go to Flagstaff because of blood issues or lung issues. One in particular is the head of JAVC. He cannot even go there for his appointments. So please, we want to help you. You tell us where we need to go. If you need us to let the VFWs and the American Legions have members come in and talk about, this is what you need to do. You have to be VA certified. So this is what you need to do. This is who you need to go see. We're willing to put boots on the ground. We're used to boots on the ground. I have been all over this state. I have been to Phoenix and to the offices of Phoenix. I was there when Dana was there. So I have been working on this for 2 years along with Jeannie Hampton, and we're both from Meadview. And we have traveled this state. I have not yet been down to Yuma. I am going to get there. They got a beautiful piece of equipment from District 1 that brought them a $15,000 physical therapy machine that they wanted, that they raised. Now that's Bouse, Yuma, and Quartzsite. They're not big cities and they're not financial cities. And they raised that money to help the VA. We're here. We're the VFW. We're the American Legion. We will get things for you and we will get things done for you. Come and talk to us. Hey, barge in. That's what I do. Supervisor Lingenfelter was a recipient of that. We were talking to people about property. I was here trying to find out who I could maybe go talk to that owe taxes. Can I get a group together to buy property that taxes were undone? And somebody said, well, the person you need to talk to just walked out that door. Jeannie and I took off after him in the rain and talked to him outside in the rain to let him know about the problem with finding property in Mojave County. You have people that will work with you. The city people will work with you to get the items done. Now, if you decide that and you get property in Lake Havasu, I'll put the same effort there. But I want family members to be able to drive to see their family and not be stopped because of the altitude. So please, whatever we can do, I found my cards. I'm going to get them all to you. And please, get a hold of me. I will jump in my car. I mean, I just changed at a minute's notice. I canceled travel plans so I could be here today. So please, let me know what you need. I will bug everybody I can think of. And yes, Cameron knows. I went up to the stand down that they had at the Veterans thing just last weekend, and I will be there in July. And I hope that all of you, by the way, I do have poppies. Tomorrow is National Poppy Day, so I do have poppies with me. Please, I'm going to get them to you before you leave. And remember our memorial to remember our veterans who haven't come home. But our poor, you were talking earlier about the caregivers at home. The bad part, and I'm going to address this now that I got you here.
We're getting off topic here. There's time on the agenda for good of the order issues.
Okay, I'll come back up and talk to you about that. But
okay, thank you.
Any help that you need, and Commander Steve Oliphant is here. He is the District 9 commander with all of the auxiliaries here. He is committed to working and getting the information you need on this too.
Okay, that was a very good point about the elevation in Flagstaff. There's a reason why I went Marine Infantry. I'm not that bright, but you know, I never realized that there are indeed medical issues that would automatically put you out of Flagstaff. Okay, Who's next?
Exactly. My name is Frankie Lyons with Veterans United Arizona. And I was wondering why we can't go to the state or Bureau of Land Management, because they have a lot of donkey acres out there, that we could possibly strong arm them into utilizing for our vets. They wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our vets. Is there a way to do that?
Okay, I have actually looked at ASLD legislation, and in that legislation it says that the ASLD land can be used for government facilities, and I know that a state veteran home is a government facility, but that has to be interpreted by first the ASLD. We have to have a meeting with them to see if that's something that we could do. We have to identify the land. I think there's probably people out here that have done land leases with ASLD. It's not an easy process, but I think that's a great idea. BLM is probably even more difficult because you have to, depending on what district you're in and what kind of things are going on and who's in the government at the time. But I think those are both valid options. Unfortunately, that has to be plugged into the legislation that initiated the veteran homes, because right now, as it's written, it has to be donated land. But that's something we can look into. But thank you for bringing that up. Yes, sir.
Okay, Terry Flanagan. I'm the Commandant with Marine Corps League 887 here in Kingman. Quick background on me. I know somewhat about the county. I spent 20 years as Mojave County Sheriff's Officer all over this place. I also spent 18 years with the prosecutor's office as their lead investigator all over this place. So I know a lot about the desert areas and living areas. And I will agree with Supervisor Martin on having Kingman as a location for several reasons, but not on emotion, not on this vet over that vet. One of the things I learned in law enforcement was, believe it or not, the two words don't go together, but sometimes they do, was law enforcement intelligence. And what I learned was doing an analysis of an issue for chiefs of police, for government, whatever, to look at all the different areas. Don't just look at, oh, well, we've got a lot of veterans here. Oh, we've got money here. No, we don't have money here. There's issues that I think have to be addressed by anybody doing the study and by each city. What does Kingman have to offer over Havasu? What does Havasu have to offer over Bullhead? Without going into a lot of detail, Kingman, as somebody noted, has lots of area, all right? If you look at the Kingman area, we are also centrally located. We have a rail line to get stuff in and out of here. We have a very viable airport. Havasu and Bullhead also have airports, but we have our airport. We also have an intersection of basically two major highways, I-40 and 93, or I-11 that it's going to be soon, right? We're centrally located to get to the Prescott Hospital if needed. We're centrally located to get to the Las Vegas Hospital if needed. So there's other issues that people would need to look at to do a report to the commission to say, we have this, we have that. What an issue is that wasn't brought up, it was kind of brought up about doctors and nurses coming here, and we're adding to our nursing program. Right there, we have a Marine wife who just became a brand new nurse, and she's still studying to move on. But the issue is, I've talked to VA about this. My wife is a retired nurse. She was also a Navy nurse. You go over here to the Seabach. I think it's a great outfit, but they have a problem, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. Nobody wants to come here, right? We lost a doctor, not because he didn't want to be here, his wife didn't want to be here. We don't have big malls. We don't have big fancy restaurants. We don't have all the rest of it. He had a choice to make. Do I come to Kingman where I'm really doing a great job as a doctor for veterans, or do I go back to Vegas where my wife is and I take care of veterans and my wife is here? So you've got to look at younger people coming into the area. I've talked to FBI is in Their office is in Lake Havasu. DEA is in Lake Havasu. Years ago when they moved, they used to have the office here. And I talked to one of the DEA guys. I didn't always get along with the FBI, but I got along with the DEA. Why don't you guys stay here? We're the county seat. We have everything. Oh, we did a survey and our young agents don't like Kingman. It's too old. So we went to Havasu. After they got to Havasu, guess what they complained about? The cost of living was higher than Kingman. What I'm saying is, before you listen to emotion, look at some logic. What does each community offer the program? We could build one anywhere. Even Mojave Valley, I don't know why, but we could build one there. But here's the issue. What is the logistical issues of building in Havasu, the logistical issues of building in Kingman, and then the community issues of building there for the people who jobs, great, we could use it. Do we have the area? Yes. Does Havasu have the area? Yes. Just look at it in that format. You got to take in a whole picture, not just, the emotion of we're going to support veterans. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hurrah.
What is the analytic model that we use to put in the homes? Gary, you don't have that?
I don't have that information. I have to get back with you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Who's next?
My name is Steve Oliphant. I am the commander of District 9 of the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States. My district is here, everything on this side of the hill from Bullhead. I have 6 posts in my district. Meadview, Dolan Springs, Chloride, 2 posts here in Kingman and a post in Golden Valley. Gentlemen, I would love to work with you to help you find what you need to build a home in Mojave County, and I agree with Supervisor Martin that Kingman would be the place. Kingman is usually 10 to 15 degrees cooler in the summertime than Havasu and Bullhead. To me, that's inviting. And I will work with you diligently, gentlemen. You give me an assignment. I have a friend that says, don't give Steve-O no assignment you don't want completed, because he'll get right after it, and I swear I'll do that for you, gentlemen. So you are invited to use the VFW. I will provide you with posts that have separate rooms for your VSOs. I've got 6 posts. I'd be more than happy to. Anything that we can do as the VFW that will help our veterans, I'm at your service. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, Commander. Okay, anybody else have any input on this? Okay, I don't want to hear reading the paper or see on some email somewhere, I didn't get a chance to speak. This is a very important issue. It's important for veterans. It's important for Mojave County. And I think we got a lot of good feedback. Anybody else online got anything? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We'll continue on to new business. Chair and vice chair nominations and votes. Okay, every year in July, the commission, we appoint a new chair and a new vice chair, and it's that time. July is rapidly approaching, so that we'll be able to do the transfer of authority up at our next meeting in Flagstaff. So if I can have nominations for the chair.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask you if you're willing to serve again.
Is there anybody else who would like to do this? There's another past chair sitting out there right now.
Yes, there
and
is.
another one online, past
Another
chair,
one
Kathy.
online.
So if there, go ahead, Kathy, you're trying to say something?
I second the nomination for Phil Cushman to continue the great job he's doing if he's so willing.
Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to be the chair of this commission? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the nominee, continuing, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, is there anybody opposed?
Don't ask your wife.
I think she likes doing this. She gets her out of town. Okay, the motion carried. And again, I want to say thank you for your trust and confidence in leading this organization and more important, representing the veterans in the state of Arizona. Okay, we now have to get a vice chair. Do I have a nomination for a vice chair?
Who's not here?
That's,
What?
Never miss a meeting that you wish you would have attended. Yeah. Okay, we need to have a vice chair.
Who's the vice chair right now?
I thought it was Matt. Is it Matt Kinney?
Lupita, do you know?
I think she might have fell offline. Chuck.
Chuck is the vice chair, she says.
Yeah, they have me as the vice chair.
All right.
All right, I nominate Chuck.
Okay, do I
I'll
have a
second
second?
it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Chuck, would you like to continue?
Absolutely.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Chuck. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of appointing Chuck as vice chair, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, the motion carries.
Thank you for your confidence.
Okay. Thank you to the new nominees to continue their service to the veterans community. Okay, we'll now transition to commissioner outreach reports and updates. At our last meeting in April, the Director Scott requested the commissioners provide a report. Lupita, who still do you need to get a report from?
Everyone. I think the only one that submitted one was Kathy.
Okay, and I sent you one last night.
Excuse me, Lupita, I sent you mine. You did not get mine?
I would have to look at my emails.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Lupita, I did not send you mine. Did you get it? Oh, okay.
Okay. This may be inspired by Doge, asking everybody what they're doing. But I think it's important that, commissioners, we all do this. This is a volunteer job. There's no compensation for this. And we are involved in a lot of other things. Like, for instance, Chris over here is the lion, the chief lion of all lions in Arizona. So there's a lot of work in there. Kathy is doing a lot of work with her business, and very inspiring work, leadership work. Chuck is doing things, Gene, Andy down there is doing some amazing legal work. So there's a lot of things that the commissioners are doing that are veteran related, and it's pretty inspiring when you read and when you hear about what they're doing. So commissioners, please get that in so the director knows what we've been up to.
Quick comment, if I may. I prefer submitting it in writing, although it's a bit laborious and tedious. At least you can look at your calendar and be thorough. I think it's more effective than verbally just trying to remember what you've been doing over the last 3 months. So thank you for asking, Director, and receiving, Lupita.
Okay. Is there anything that commissioners that you're doing that's really interesting that you want to share? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. Okay, we'll move on to good of the order. This is the great time to make announcements. Keep in mind that if there's anything that you'd like us, the commission, to look into or discuss that hasn't been on the agenda, we cannot comment on that. That's due to open meeting law. But we can respond to any and any action items, but we can respond if there's any direct attacks to us, but I don't think there's going to be any today. Okay, Commissioner Byers. Chuck, what do you got? You've been muted.
Yeah, Phil, I understand that we are going to have a new tag. Have we introduced the new tag yet?
I have not been introduced to the new tag, but we can, that's something that we can look into.
Well, could the tag be a speaker?
Sure.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
I really liked having Reagan here, although we didn't hear a lot from him. I love having the VBCs heavily engaged in our meetings, and maybe even ongoing briefings from them about their successes and their challenges, if that's something we could look at as we go forward, as we travel, wherever the appropriate placement might be for their input.
I'd love to answer any questions and provide any input that's asked of us. I love being involved. I love helping the veterans, so thank you.
I guess you really
Thank
impressed
you.
everybody. Good job. Okay. Anything else?
I am very disappointed that I'm unable to travel more to these different locations at these meetings. And I just have to say how incredibly valuable I think this effort is. And I know it takes more planning on the staff's part, but I think the communities really appreciate seeing us there. And you just learn so much more about the needs and the desires and the opportunities when we go to them. So I'd like to encourage the commissioners to keep thinking in this direction as having a reoccurring opportunity. So maybe I can get to some of these places too. Thank you.
Okay, great. Andy, do you got anything?
I do not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, what about you, Josh? Is Josh still on here?
No, he had to leave.
Okay. And there's somebody on here marked anonymous. Do you have anything for us? Maybe not. Okay, anybody here on the dais that have anything that you want us to look into next time? Or go to the order? Okay, anybody
Jim
else?
McCormick here from the VFW State Commander. It's not something for you to look in. I just wanted to share some information with all of you. I heard a great report there from Gary talking about that the Arizona Department of Veteran Services has been able to get, was it 93 or 98 million for veterans in their authorized benefit and compensation, Gary?
98.8 million. So we're hopeful that we'll get to 100 million by the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, I would like to just raise the flag of the Veterans of Foreign Wars for just a moment here, the VFW of Arizona. We employ 5 VA certified service officers. 4 of them work out of our headquarters in Tempe, Arizona, and we have 1 down at the VA hospital in Tucson. And from 1 June of 2024 up till 30 April 2025, those 5 wonderful wizards filed 3,483 claims on the behalf of veterans with the VA, which has resulted in a compensation and across-the-board compensation. Some of it's pension, some of it's disability comp, some of it's dependent or survivor pension. So it's across the board here, right? 226,698,000 and just over $500. And that's just in that 1-year period there. I think that it's great work that what you're doing. I encourage us to keep doing the same thing. And there'll be a new commander next year, and I'm pretty sure they'll start seeing numbers like this. I just wanted to share that with you. There are people out there that are working, we're all doing the same thing for the same client, a veteran. Thank you very much.
It looks like the commander made a challenge to you, Reagan. I don't know.
I agree. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thank you. No rancor.
Okay, anybody else have anything? Okay, if there's no more business, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning?
Go home.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, we're gonna have lunch over at Calico's, and anybody that would like to join us is welcome to attend. But I'm not paying for it. And again, I want to thank Board of Supervisors. And where's Laura? Where'd she go? Okay, we'll catch up with her. But again, thank you very much for all your support up here in Mojave County. This is probably one of the more veteran-friendly, veteran-supportive regions in the state, and it's always a pleasure to come up here. Thank you, sir.
On behalf of the county, I want to thank you all. I didn't know that you all were volunteers.
Yes.
I mean, you know, volunteers in today, you know, they especially for veterans. I mean, what you guys are doing and what you're trying to do for veterans is just virtually unheard of. But, you know, it really, for me, it gave me a new light saying, wow, you guys are working for veterans for volunteering and your time and effort and your expertise and stuff. So, you know, I can tell you on behalf of our board, we're, you know, when we look at this, we're impressed with what you guys are doing. And I know the veterans in our community, we got a ton of them up here. And, you know, we got a good relationship with them. And, you know, we're glad to see you guys are working for veterans. And you folks are welcome anytime to come to Mojave County and hold your meetings or whatever. And you made a good choice at Calico's.
Yes.
I'm not gonna, you know, lie about it, Supervisor Don. Can I take all this tech support equipment home?
This is pretty nice. Okay, well, we'll see you at, we'll be at Calico's in about, probably about 20 minutes.